Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of FPL Variance powered by Fantasypedia. Fantasypedia is the one-stop shop for everything related to FPL. Whether it's captaincy or transfer decisions, Fantasypedia helps FPL managers make optimal decisions for their FPL teams. Make sure to follow Fantasypedia on Twitter for regular updates. And we're back. It's the international break, but yeah, the gig continues. We are here to help FPL managers. I'm Zeeshan, and I have with me my co-hosts, Mihir and Manan. How's it going, guys? Let's start with you, Mihir.
It's going great. I want to talk more about FPL after the week I had 78 points and now the wild card is active. So a lot to talk about and lot to get into.
That is great. What about you, Manan?
It's just exact opposite. I didn't have a good week. I had 42 points, I think. I didn't have the popular Saliba, which my other two pod members did have. So I'm looking to game week 9 after such a poor week, and I'm on wildcard as well. So you're gonna hear a lot of wildcard musings from us guys.
Indeed, FPL being the roller coaster that is, I had a very good week too. I had Kane captain, 82 points. I had Saliba as well. Worked out pretty okay, and yeah, very keen, very excited. Though I'm not on wildcard, like the two of you guys, but that's a topic of discussion in the community. Just like last week, game week 8 was a very popular week for wildcarding, and there's the same story in game week 9. Wildcards are active, and Mihir and Manan have their wildcards active as well. So, Mihir, take us through it. What are your plans for Game Week 9 wildcard? How's it shaping up?
So firstly, I would like to thank Lego Mane for providing us with this fixture ticker to use in our pod. As we can see in this fixture ticker below, to the right, sorry, Man City and Arsenal have a blank in game week 12. So I am planning to have minimal Man City and Arsenal cover to navigate those weeks well, as Man City and Arsenal both also have a tricky run during that time till the game week 12 blank. So I am planning to not have six players from that team, as it will be a big problem in game week 12 when half of our team will blank. So that's the plan. What about you, Manan?
I think the plan is quite similar. I think who the managers who are on wildcard need to definitely prepare for that blank, because a lot of managers are not going with Salah, and we need a contingency plan if he starts delivering points again. And it's a scary thing when he starts delivering points and you don't have him. So definitely I'll most likely have maximum 3 or 4 players who I can relatively ship off before that blank and get in other players and take advantage of the 9, 10, 11 fixtures. I would also like to point out game week 12 is after 4 game weeks, right? I mean, there are a lot of things that's going to happen in between, and I think on a wild card you can take a few risks and go with the City and Arsenal players, but have a plan to also remove them before game week 12. I think that would be my suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense if you're on wildcard, that is the advantage, right? For people like me who have three Arsenal players and three City players, and City, despite very good fixtures, a blank, I think it's a big spanner in works. So I think it's gonna be about balancing it and finding that optimal balance. So yeah, in terms of balance, right? Apart from City and Arsenal, which teams are you guys targeting? And obviously, we're looking at this fixture ticker, and yeah, any particular players that have caught your attention that you're keen on your wildcard team?
So I think the main focus for me on the wild card would also be the Chelsea assets under their new manager Graham Potter. I am looking at Reece James as a lock-in, like completely locked in my team at 6 million. Another player I am keeping an eye on to see how he plays, like if he stays fit on the international duty, is Raheem Sterling from Chelsea as a differential fund at 10 million. You either get him on a wild card or it's too difficult to fit him in due to the awkward price point at 10 million. Another team I am looking at is Leicester City. Like they have had a terrible start to the season, but James Madison, he is still performing. Even in the last game versus Spurs, he scored a wonder goal. Now his fixture runs like the fixture run eases off, and his fixtures for the next few weeks are Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Leeds, Crystal Palace, and Wolves. So it's a terrific run till the first World Cup, like when we will get unlimited transfers again. So I am planning to own Madison for the stretch of games till the World Cup in Game Week 16. What about you, Manan?
I think aside from the guys you mentioned, I think Zaha is a clear favorite at his price. I think I think even against Chelsea in game week 9, I think I like him a lot. He has always been a big match player and he's the talisman. He's on penalties. I think and his fixtures still game week 16 are really good. I mean, so Zaha is a clear lock for me. As soon as I like pressed that wildcard button, I think Zaha was one of the players that I was quite happy to own even from game week 9. So and also I think it's important to keep also keep the players who are like players like Martinelli, right? Who have provided such a good value and still an Arsenal player at such a budget option. I think we should definitely keep him. And I've seen a lot of people who are trying to sell him. I think there's a value attached to him as well. So I can see Z smiling a bit,
Just
and
to just to interrupt you, Wilfred Zaha is the only player in the league who is a disadvantage at being at pens because he is horrible at pens. Like I have seen him miss three pens in my team alone. So
I
he's
mean, but
like a troll for me, like Dine.
I think, but still, it's an advantage to have a pan and then miss it, and then rather not having it. I mean,
Well, that's
that's
negative points for missing the pen.
it can be, but at times, it's a penalty is a 50-50 situation. I mean, I take it as that. I mean, I know he's a bad penalty taker, but sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's always good
Well,
to have that player who is on penalty, right? So yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll have aside these players. I think Mitrovic is also something who is quite nailed in my squad. So we'll talk about him more in ahead. But yeah, currently these are some players which we are eyeing on the wild card.
G as
Yeah,
someone, G as someone who is not on white card, which is the player that you are most looking to bring in right now?
yeah, I think personally, I'm in a very lucky situation where the structure of my team is such that luckily I've already got Madison. I got him in last week. So that's one less thing to worry about because of the factors that you already pointed out, Mir. I really like him. Again, Madison, I think, is a talisman of sorts with Wadi not featuring regularly these days. So happy to have him. I also like, Manan's shout about Zaha. And I agree. He is a terrible penalty taker. But for me, the positive here, even though it comes at a risk, is that he is on penalties. And, it could go wrong, but we are in a position where he could get those additional points and the fixtures are good. So I'm not keen on getting Zaha in for the Chelsea game because I think Potter will get it right. And I saw glimpses in the Champions League game where they were pretty solid for large spells of the game, ended up conceding, of course. Uh, I back Chelsea to keep a clean sheet. Your favorite Mihir, Reece James. We've spoken about him in the past. Uh, you know, uh, Under Potter they could keep clean sheets, and the upside that he's got is pretty good. So I'm backing Chelsea for that game. But yeah, after that, I think Zaha is firmly on my radar. So I'll be targeting him. I've got enough in the bank right now, so I could probably move out someone like a Romeo Lavia, who's a 4.5 to a Zaha. So that's a very good upgrade. So yeah, that's someone who is on my radar. So we've spoken about attackers here, right? Let's look at some of the underlying data in terms of defenders and goalkeepers, right? Apart from Reece James, Mihir, are you looking at any other defender or maybe the goalkeeper situation? Is there anyone that stands out to you on a wild card?
So just to introduce you to the viewers, this is a graph provided by Fantasypedia. On the x-axis, we have big chances conceded, and on the y-axis, we have shots on target conceded. So as we can see, Man City are in a league of their own, but just above them are Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs, which the goalkeeper spots from those teams are a bit expensive at 5.5 million with Allison and Tottenham with Lloris. And with Brighton, we don't know what system the new manager will provide. More on that later in the pod, so be tuned for it. And with Arsenal, it's a fixtures thing because we know Liverpool and Spurs are very likely to score. So it brings me up to the tricky question on wildcard on who to pick. Like to pick with Nick Pope, who has been facing low quality shots that are good for FPL with save points and bonus, or as it's very risky because Trippier is a lock-in for most of us. So I am after looking at at this graph, I am considering Jose Sa on a wild card at 5 million and the fixtures after game week 11, as we mentioned in this slide here. Wolves face West after game week 11, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Brighton, etc., who are historically not that great of an attack, and Wolves we know are a good defense historically. So I am looking at Jose Sa as a differential goalkeeper, but Nick Pope is the safe option. And with regards to the Guaita pick, which most are considering on FPL Twitter, yes, the fixtures have been tough, but as we can see here on the graph, like they are similar on the graph with Fulham on the big chances conceded. So it's a very big risk if you are going with him, coupled with the fact that last season many went with him and he randomly got dropped. So yeah,
So you're high on the Wolves goalkeeper, it seems. Manan, again, are you playing it safe with Nick Pope, or you have a trump card of your own, a differential of sorts?
Actually, I'm quite surprised by Mihir's pick because I'm also on the Jose Sa, I was genuinely very surprised when he mentioned Jose Sa. But I think Wolves have shown bit of glimpse that how they were 2 seasons ago. I think when they were a rigid defense, they played beautiful football, not conceding many big chances as you can see from the graph. And his genuine good option is fixtures till game week 16, as Mihir mentioned, are really good. And I think he's someone who is almost nailed in my team. I can clearly because all the other goalkeepers I don't like, as Mihir said, Guetta. I think he's conceding a lot of big chances. There's a caveat that he has played, I think, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I think three of the top six already from last year. So I think we have to also see that. We also have to make a note of that. They have played their fixtures have been really difficult from the start. But and I've seen a lot of people again going to the route for this Iverson Ward combo, and I think I started with it, and I'll definitely not recommend it. It's a torture watching their match. It's not it's more like when he'll spill the ball just in front of the attacker. I think
just
I think
yeah,
there's also not a surety of which goalkeeper will now start, so that's also a thing. Yeah, please, Mir.
just to interrupt you on the Wolves defense, the main worry over the next few games will be the absence of Nathan Collins, who tried to karate kick Jack Grealish and is now suspended for the upcoming game. So it will be a big worry, and to see who will replace him in the defense will be also a key issue. As they also sold Willy Bolly in the summer window to Nottingham Forest, so they are not like they don't have that much depth in defense like before. So it is one to monitor. But yeah, I think
I
for me, it's between Jose Sa and Nick Pope.
I,
Yeah.
I think I'll contradict you. I think I don't see a lot of clean sheets. I think Trippier is a great option at his price, but I don't see a lot of clean sheets from Newcastle in the next few matches. I think Fulham, Mitrovic. I genuinely back Mitrovic to go score goals against again in that fixture. So I'm not too sure on Newcastle double up, but definitely, the goalkeeper thing is the biggest headache I think for me in the wildcard situation.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't go with the Ward Iverson double up because
Yeah,
it's a pain.
exactly.
It's such a shame, isn't it? Because if you look at the underlying numbers that we presented here, Leicester have been really unlucky to sort of concede the number of goals that they've done. But I think a big factor is Ward over there, right?
Yeah,
He is bad. He is really bad.
well,
So in a normal situation, I think I would say that okay, they've been really unlucky. The clean sheets will come, but with Ward, I would not be confident at all. The only hope is that maybe he loses his place to Iverson, who ends up doing well. So are you willing to take the risk and go for that double up again? It's important to consider. It also saves you a million if you're going for a Ward Iverson combo instead of Sa. Uh, yeah, Wolves have been doing well, but I don't expect them to keep a lot of clean sheets. Collins obviously will be a big miss, and I understand that for a side like Wolves, it's a lot about the system as well, right? The way they set up. Uh, I'm just not very comfortable. I think I'd rather go Pope with that point two extra because purely because of the fact that Newcastle tactically, as we've seen under Eddie Howe, they like conceding low XG shots. They've got these two huge 6.5 feet center backs who I think could do well against the likes of Mitrovic. Again, I have not really looked at the data, but I think I'll be more comfortable investing in the Newcastle defense compared to a Sa or maybe a Gaita. Again, you've spoken about Gaita. I think there's a bit of subconscious bias because Palace have been really good in the past, right? And people are still in that hangover that, yeah, Palace are really solid. No, they're not anymore. If you look at the sample size of the season, they're conceding a lot of quality chances, and it's not looking great for Gaita or Palace defenders as a whole. Uh,
Just one more thing I would like to point out. I have seen a lot of managers going with the like monitoring Chelsea situation as well, I think. But I don't think we'll get a clear-cut answer as to will Kepa again start in the because he's at a ridiculous price, right? And I think I would not recommend you to start with Kepa and take that chance, because if you start with Kepa and Ward, and if both of them loses their place, then you'll need another goalkeeper transfer, and that's the worst situation. So yeah,
I think, yeah, one tragedy is enough. Two might be a bit too much, especially in
yeah.
a game where you get just two goalkeepers. Yeah, that's a fair point. We are discussing, the defensive numbers, and we started off with Mihir pointing out how Manchester City are right up there in the league of their own. They are the undisputed number one in terms of the defensive quality that they have, the way they set up. And Cancelo is obviously, everyone's favorite. But there's another defender who was not from Man City. We're talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool have been a bit shaky this season, so we're just gonna look at these two premium defenders, if you want to call it, Trent versus Cancelo. And yeah, you're looking at this chart over here, comparing the two. Where are you guys? And I'm really interested to hear what is your decision on the wild card. Are you keeping both of them, or maybe you're dropping Trent and keeping Cancelo? Again, let's start with you, Manan. What are you doing on your wild card?
So currently, I'm not considering Trent for a lot of reasons. I think Liverpool are not playing their best football, as we all can see. I think they are conceding tons of goals, and I think that defensive line. I think Van Dijk has not been himself. I think he is such a good defender, but he has also struggled, and that has been a big part. That has been a big reason why Liverpool have conceded so many goals. And I think in the next three fixtures, I don't see them keeping a clean sheet. I know there's a fear in my mind, because if I don't start with him, I might not be able to bring him in, because I might not start with Salah, right? So also, there's a fear in me that would that does want Trent, but I'll probably not go with him. I'd like to see a bit of proper defensive ability, defensive a proper defensive just speechless.
Structure, yeah, just I think you're right. Just the
Yeah, a
way
proper defense
Liverpool
from
have
Liverpool
looked
side.
this
Yeah,
season. Yeah, yeah.
before
And
investing in him.
the loss of Matip also has been
Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
I think to me he's their best defender. It's been that way even last season as well. And his loss was huge, but he's now coming back. And Mihir, I see you smiling. Are you gonna hold on to Trent on the wild card, or you're going without him like Manan?
So just to start off, firstly, Cancelo, like Manan started with the point that Trent and Liverpool have not been looking great defensively. Man City's numbers are great, but their next three fixtures before the blank are as follows. First, it's the Manchester Derby. Then it's Southampton, which is a likely clean sheet agreed. Then it's Liverpool away. So the Manchester Derby and Liverpool, no matter how great City are defensively, they will be tough games for them defensively. And as we can see in the numbers on the right hand side of Cancelo, he has an XA of zero point 0.3 compared to Trent's zero point 0.7. And the chances created per 90 for Cancelo are 0.94 and for Trent are 2.45 per 90, which is a huge number. And as you mentioned, with Matip coming back and who will slot in place of Joe Gomez, who hasn't been great so far, I think it will be a huge upgrade for Liverpool defensively. And whilst their fixtures themselves are not that great, with Brighton being the only clean sheet worthy game, and after that it's Arsenal and Liverpool, who themselves are not that great for clean sheet. But the fixture in game week 12 against West Ham is what puts me to the Trent camp over the Cancelo camp, as also saves me a transfer down the line if I think there will be only one clean sheet for both of them over the spell of next 4 games, which is the Brighton game for Trent and the Southampton game for Cancelo. As I don't think the Manchester Derby and the Liverpool game will be clean sheets for either.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interest. I think even the Southampton game, right? I mean, as a Manchester City supporter, they've been tricky games for us in the past because Southampton are a sort of a team who like to run at the opponents, right? They don't just sit back; they take their chances. So it's a mixed bag. I think the fact that City have a blank in 12-game week and it's essentially down to three fixtures versus four, right? And two of them, like you said, are a bit tricky. Maybe variance plays a part, and City end up keeping the clean sheet in both. But that could also be the case, for Trent, where Liverpool have shipped goals in the past, but maybe with Matip's arrival, it sort of mixes it up a bit, and Liverpool end up keeping clean sheets on what seems like a bit tricky fixtures. So personally, I'm not on a wild card, but I have my eyes on Trent because purely down to the fact that Mihir pointed out the kind of chances that he's creating. Right, he is elite in terms of chance creation. I think the only reason why Cancelo is so far ahead in terms of the total number of points is down to the fact that he plays for Man City, who are just
Clean
excellent
sheet
in terms of
monsters.
defense.
Yeah,
Definitely. So
exactly.
if
Yeah.
Liverpool can sort of sort that out, and that fixture run that starts from 12 to 16, that also is a huge factor. So I've got Trent in my mind. I've got another Liverpool player that I'm considering, and I'll likely bring him in this week. It's Darwin Núñez for Harry Kane. So I'm just in that boat where do I just get Núñez because I'm pretty certain I'm going to do that. Do I just get Núñez and get Trent in, or just wait another week? And because I want to target that Brighton fixture, we'll obviously talk about it in detail. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think Trent does catch my
another
attention right.
thing to notice here, whilst viewing the stats on the right hand side, is that Trent has played 1 game less than Cancelo due to the Liverpool game being postponed last game week. So the FPL points are skewed towards Cancelo's sides at the moment, but if Trent had a game last week, it could have been the opposite way. As we know, Trent has a 17-pointer haul in him and FPL royalty over the years.
Yeah, he is that kind of a player, and I've betted against him in the past. Been lucky
Game
so
week
far.
3.
Yeah, been a bit smug. He's just had one haul so far, but he's the kind of defender who can get back-to-back double-digit calls. We've seen it in the past. So yeah, I am a bit open-minded about this after Matip's arrival. Are we speaking about Cancelo, right? And that brings us to our sort of next.
Just I want to add one thing. I think we were talking about defenders as well, and I think I need to point out that I think West Ham defenders can be a good option as your fourth defender. I think they have already played the three of the top six from last year, and they're still great. They have still great expected numbers. They are, I think, in top six for XGC stats wise, and they were unlucky to concede. I think they are exceeding their xG by 2 or 3 goals, I think. So if there's a indication that Sufal or Zuma, I think Zuma is quite nailed. But if Sufal is also nailed, I think he can be a good fourth option while we are talking about defenders.
Fair enough, fair.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
think
get
that's a
into
fair shout. Just I think West Ham as a unit this season, right? And purely down to the abundance of options that we already got from the top teams. But yeah, if someone likes to really go differential, it's a fair shout. I think we're battling relegation this year. Sorry, West Ham fans. Maybe they won't get relegated, but I see a lower half sort of a finish for them. I hope I'm wrong because I like them. I like David Moyes. I like what he's done in recent seasons. But yeah, let's move on. We've talked about defenders. We talked about Cancelo, who plays for City. Now, if you're on wildcard and you're not picking Cancelo and you're going Trent and maybe two or three other defenders like Trippier, that opens this interesting discussion where you could have not just two City attackers but three of them, and a lot of people. I know some people who've done this and it's working nicely so far for them. So yeah, we were just thinking that what if you go Haaland, De Bruyne, and Foden as your attacking triple up from Manchester City? Are any of you guys on wildcard keen on doing this if you're going without Cancelo?
Just
Mihir,
to just to start
yeah.
out on this point, Jafar, one of the friends of the pod, mentioned on a tweet last week that out of Man City's last 29 goals, all three of them have been involved in 22 of those goals. So it's only 7 goals out of 29 that they have not been involved in. Saying that, I think the time to triple up on them has come and gone because I think, as we mentioned before on the Cancelo part, the fixtures for City with the blank don't look that appealing to consider three attackers from their team. For example, we can have Haaland is a perma lock in our teams, like he is almost a perma captain level. I think Kevin De Bruyne can the money in Kevin De Bruyne can be well spent by going Mo Salah or Heung-min Son, who scored a hat trick and maybe is back in form and has good fixtures coming up. Or and the Phil Foden part, it's James Madison he's competing with in that price range. So I think the time to own all three of them was for the previous three fixtures which have just gone. So I don't think a triple up in attack is viable right now with the three fixtures that are coming up. But post game week 13, I think is a good time to go on all three, especially if they have sealed up their UCL group stage.
That's Manan, are you in the same camp?
Yeah,
Do
I
you think
think I
a bit too much?
yeah, I think I completely agree with everything what me said. And just to add to a point, exactly. I mean, I am a big fan of Cancelo, and I would want a piece of that Manchester City defense. I can't bear that if they're keeping clean sheets and I don't get a piece of it. So I'm definitely, I mean, Cancelo is someone I'll definitely have, and thus I can't have that triple City attack. As simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, don't blame you guys. It's something that I have done, obviously not in my FPL team, but I think a lot of seasoned fantasy managers would know that there are other fantasy games as well. So in one of those games, I've tried this formula since game week 1, and it has worked wonders because like Mihir pointed out, they've been involved in almost 80% of the goals so far, and they just keep ticking along, right? All you have to do, I think my logic is you just obviously captain Haaland, and whatever you get from De Bruyne and Foden is a bonus. And I think it's an extreme case of putting all your eggs in one basket. I like it purely because it's Man City. You know it's a quality team. You know they're going to score a lot of goals. If this was maybe a team like Palace or West Ham, then yeah, obviously it's not advisable. But I also get why anyone would be a bit paranoid about also the important point of losing out that defender spot, because if you want a Cancelo or a Ruben Diaz, for example, you're looking at least two transfers to bring him in. So yeah, the pros and cons. But if you are a Maverick and you fancy that edge and you want to chase that upside, I think it's a viable move uh, to gain some rank. And yeah, just go get that triple up done. Yes.
Do you still think that triple up is good for the upcoming fixtures?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will back. I think everyone will agree, right? I back City to score in every game, especially with Haaland now. We are seeing these patterns of play where De Bruyne is dominating those half spaces, and it's very tricky for defenders to mark him. If they're marking De Bruyne, Foden is sort of benefiting coming from the other side. Other times when the cutbacks are not working, they're just playing lovely through balls to Haaland. If that doesn't work, you just put crosses and Haaland will tuck one of them away. So I think these are very difficult times for teams playing against Man City. But for Man City and for Haaland, I think there are different routes, and these three guys are always involved. So I think it's a very good shout. The blank is obviously a problem. If we were to anyone were to go with the triple up, right? And that game week 12 blank comes, I think I'll be very comfortable to obviously hold Haaland because it's a non-negotiable. You have to have Haaland all the time. Maybe keep Foden on the bench for 1 week and switch De Bruyne to someone like Salah. In game week 12, you get a lot, I think, out of the three games. De Bruyne is a big game player. He can turn up against United. He's turned up against Liverpool in the past. So I think there are pros, and I think there's a lot of upside, to be very
Guys, just to
honest.
put a disclaimer, G is a big Man City fan, so keep
Yeah, I
that
was
in
about
mind.
to say that. Yeah. Yeah, he's a big City fan, so
I am, but honestly, like to be objective, in the past seasons, there have been instances where I've picked no City attacker purely because of the dynamic in the past. But like I always keep saying, you have to be open-minded and take the chance where there is an opportunity. I think this season the dynamics are different. I think these are pretty near. I think Foden has started each and every Premier League game so far. He may get hooked early here and there, but you have that assurance that Pep looks at him as his number one winger. Let's put it that way. Especially after the departure of Sterling and Mahrez has not been in great form. Grealish looks all right. So yeah, there's a lot of encouraging signs, and I am open-minded to it without any hint of bias. But who knows? Maybe I'm biased.
So let's just move on to the next topic. Brighton, as we spoke about earlier in the pod, have appointed the new manager from Sassuolo, Roberto De Zerbi, if I pronounced it right. Sorry if I butchered the name. He was a Sassuolo manager before here, and he was a Shakhtar before Brighton. He is a very attack-minded coach, as we can see below from the graphic. His team scored on an average 2.13 goals at Shakhtar every game per 90, and at Sassuolo it was similar, scoring 1.63 goals per 90 and also conceding 1.56 goals per 90. I think I like those stats as someone who is looking to go for Salah as captain next game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I firmly agree with that, and that is one of the reasons why I'm not Salah. I mean, I can't bring him in because I'm happy with De Bruyne, but I'm looking at Darwin Nunez. I think he is a big money signing. He will have to play. When he plays, he hogs all the expected goals, right? Even though he's not very good at it, but he gets a lot of shots away, and I expect them to end up in the back of the net. And because of the reasons you mentioned, right? So we see this trend where Premier League managers, the new ones, right? They come to the Premier League regardless of their history. Initially, they try to be a bit more defensive, get the back four in place, try to churn out clean sheets. But if you look at it historically, they do that after one or two games where they've tried their attacking style and failed. So we've seen that in the past. We saw it with Ten Hag recently as well, right? The first two games were, United getting thrashed, but suddenly third game, and if you look at the data since then, there's been a change in style and the way they approach things. They're a lot more pragmatic now. I expect something similar. I think De Zerbi, very good manager, very highly spoken. But I think he'll try to be brave versus Liverpool, stamp that authority, try to attack them, and that will benefit Liverpool. I see goals in that game,
I
and I
I
want to bring in some of their attackers.
I think I don't agree with anything you said. I think they are
Oh,
not as Manchester United. I think those two examples are totally different. Manchester United was struggling before, and we could see the same pattern after Ten Hag was appointed. But Brighton have been doing very well. They have been very good on the defensive numbers as well, as we saw it in the graph before. So I don't, and we know we'll talk about De Zerbi's tactics and everything, but we know he is an offensive manager. But I don't think Brighton will immediately lose their defensive prowess. I mean, that has been a big solid factor for them since game week 1 to 8, and I don't think it will immediately be like they can't defend. I
do you
think
not think Potter's departure affects
no,
those
it
numbers?
does. It does. But ultimately, I think players, those players don't, they do know how to defend. They have been doing it from game week 1 to 8. And I don't think immediately there will be a fact that they'll just forget how to defend. So I know, I think it is a better fixture now for Salah as it was before when it was Potter. But, uh, but I don't think it will be as open as everyone is thinking just because De Zerbi is an offensive manager. Because I think the change will be gradual. It will be slow. It will be in the long run, but I don't think it will be immediately that Brighton is a bad fixture just in game week 9.
Speaking of the Zerbi, do you know about some of the tactics he uses? What do you think, Manan?
I think from what I read in the articles and everything, I think he considers himself as a disciple of Bielsa, which says a lot about him. I think I think he likes a offensive play like Pep Guardiola. I think he does the same style, and which is what the Brighton fans are used to, a bit offensive style. I think they generally, so what he does is he usually passes from the back. He's a possession based manager who likes to have all the possession. Okay, and I think he passes from the back with a lot of short passes, and then he waits for the opportunity for the oppositions to press, and then he makes those long runs to the striker, who then passes to the wingers. I think that is the basic style of play that he generally prefers. One thing to also notice that the wingers and the wing backs don't not the full backs don't usually cross in a De Zerbi team. I think he's a manager who doesn't like crossing. They just work the ball into the box, and which also makes the attacking midfielder he prefers a 4-2-3 formation. So the player behind the striker is also a really good option. I think it can be a Trossard or it can be a Pascal Gross, which is we'll see in the game week 9. But I think that player can also benefit a lot from this formation and the tactics he usually play. I think, and he also prefers inverted wingers. So there's a chance he plays Solimarch on the right and Trossard on the left. There's a good chance, but I think he's a good attacking manager, which is a good thing for us. But I can definitely agree that he does concede a lot of chances, and we might see over the long run that Brighton are conceding a lot of goals. It might not be immediate, but yeah, in the long run, I don't think Brighton is going to be the defense that they are or what we are used to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think those are very encouraging signs, and that's one of the reasons why I feel the Liverpool game could be really open. It's purely down to the fact that it's the first game, and with what we've seen, and Manan, you've pointed out that he's a disciple of Bielsa and Guardiola. So I think it's great to admire these great managers, but if you try it with players who are not up there in quality, like we saw it with Bielsa, right? He likes attacking football, but Leeds have used to ship a lot of goals against the likes of City, Liverpool. It could be one of those games, but yeah, in the long term, I expect them to get things right attackingly, and I think Trossard and Gross, and I hope McAllister somehow gets dropped. He's a good player, but if he gets dropped, there's a chance that someone like a Trossard or Pascal Gross could be on penalties, which is great. The price is
I
great as
I
well.
think
I see
I
me
think
smiling already.
yeah. I think on that point, I think he'll be in the pivot role with Caicedo. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think
Yeah.
he won't be dropped, but yeah, I think he'll play a much more deeper role
It's just
than
full
before.
thinking, Manan. Yeah, I'm just
how
hoping he
how
has
do you
faith
drop Messi?
in
He
McAllister.
looks like Messi and he shoots like Messi. How dare you
No,
drop him?
yeah. I think, and he is a
Explain
good penalty taker as well. I think that exactly why I said I think he won't be dropped, but he will be used in a bit defensive role.
Also, finally concluding on this De Zerbi and the new Brighton manager, as someone who rates Potter very highly, I think it will be a drop off in performance for Brighton, at least in the short run, before De Zerbi improvises these tactics. So I think Liverpool assets are a good hold or a good buy on a wild card right now.
I
But
agree, me. There could be a drop off, and but yeah, they should come all right in the long term. Should score a lot of goals. Potter to Chelsea is a great news. Best
yep.
English manager for me right now. But yeah, I think he can take care of Chelsea. But we have our teams to take care of, and we are gonna do a preview of game week 9 to wrap things off. And yeah, let's look at our bus teams. Let's start with you, Mihir. What is your current wildcard team looking like?
So this is just the first initial draft that I created on fpl.team. I am just like churning out price rises right now, which there aren't any after the deadline day. So right now I have in goal Pope, but as I mentioned, I have reservations over it about going Jose or Pope. In defense, I have Trippier, Cancelo, and James. This draft was done before price rises and drops, so I didn't have point one in the bank to go Trent or Cancelo at that time. So that spot I think is a toss up between Trent or Cancelo right now for me. And I'm slightly inclined to going Trent right now, but there is a week to go and a lot of things can change during the international break. In midfield, I have Raheem Sterling as a differential who I rate very highly from the fixtures point of view. And I know Zeeshan hates. So, yeah, and apart from that, I have Mo Salah, who I will likely captain and will be buying from a captaincy point of view. He can be Luis Diaz if I don't feel like it, but it's an initial draft. And apart from it, I have Madison, who is fairly locked in. Gordon, who is on four yellow cards, I have to mention, which might be a problem. Then there are the usual suspects of Erling Haaland and Mitrovic, who are fairly locked in. Then I have Solanke, who many might laugh because he has a 0.19 XG per 90 so far. But the main reason I have him in my team is because of the Gameweek 12 fixture against Southampton, which helps as Erling Haaland and Cancelo both will bank in that fixture. And I will need the fodder to play in that game. So he has a great fixture in Gameweek 12 out of the options. And on the bench, I have Everson Dalot, who I am high on to play next week against Everton. And the usual suspect of Andreas, the bench enabler of this year, and Totti, who is the bench fodder.
Oh, that's a very interesting score.
I
I
think,
actually like the
yeah,
Sterling, to be honest. I did a Potter thread a couple of weeks back, and I predicted Sterling as a left winger, but a few people pointed out that he could play that left wing back role that Trossard plays, which is not a negative, I think, for him because we saw at Brighton the way Potter used Trossard in that left wing back role was he used to get most of the shots away. So I think that's a positive, and Sterling is a great player in those half spaces. Solanke, I'm not, but again, a lot of seasoned managers are talking about him. So who am I to question him? And he's
I
got the good
It's
fixtures as
mostly
well.
due to the Game Week 12 blank. So, as he's the cheapest
no,
option available and he's a 90-minute man, so why not? As it will save a transfer down the line in Game Week 12 where I can just bench Haaland and roll with it. I
so
won't be
I
starting him
think I
each week.
completely agree. Yeah, please. You would be starting him each week, right?
No, I won't be
Okay.
starting him each week. I will start Dalo most weeks, and when he has a tough game, I can switch him around with Solanke as he will mostly be a two-pointer, but he is the talisman for Bournemouth. So it's more likely
I
that
think
last year he had 60% involvement in all the Bournemouth goals. So it's just a point like Game Week 12, mainly for the Game Week 12 reasons, as it's a blank and he has a easy fixture then.
I think I would like to add some points to that. I think Solanke is. I followed him in championship as well. I played the championship fantasy game that season, and I think he was just relentless. I think he was scoring goals. I know it was championship, and the level is quite not as same as
That
Premier.
that
Pre-
is level, Manan. What do you think?
I know it is not the same level, but I think there's a player in him which can do really well, and the fixtures are really good. And I genuinely did myself consider him. He's not in my draft, but I did consider him, and I might go towards him. We'll see. But I think, and also I'd like to add to the Sterling bit that I think we saw it in the Champions League game. His average position, or the heat map was amazing. I think he started in the left wing back spot only. It was a huge discussion among the community whether it was a left wing back or not. But I think his heat map was promising, and his stats was quite promising in that match. So I think I genuinely like that shout.
Well, usual caveats apply of one game week sample size. And remember, guys,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
just the initial draft, so it can change over a week, and we will post our final drafts in the next pod, which we will do on Wednesday or Thursday as usual.
Yeah, I think Sterling. I obviously I've got a few, issues with him because he has this talent to get into good positions, but he can miss some really easy chances. But, for our viewers, listeners, the important thing is that he gets those chances, which he has that talent. I'm also wondering, I mean, nothing to do with the spot right now or this season, but if he keeps starting this left wing back position, we have potentially an out of position attacker next year. Like imagine Raheem Sterling as a 7 million
That's
defender. That would be
that's
that would
way
be
too forward thinking. I
Well,
can't
well,
process that much. Yeah.
you already have one in Reece James who had a similar heat map versus in the UCL game versus
Yeah.
Salzburg, and under Tuchel he also had important positions. Like I love him as an asset because I have owned him for all his horse, and I sold him when he starts trolling. So I hope he starts to get him back into his usual 21 pointer range as the fixtures progress from now.
I agree. Let's hope so too. Manan, have you what sort of planning? Like, are you pretty much locked with your wildcard team, or you're just getting the price rises for now? Take us through your wildcard squad.
Yeah, sure. So I have Jose Sign goal. I have James Cancelo and Trippier as my defenders. I'll have Martinelli, Zaha, Madison, and Kevin De Bruyne as my midfield, and I have currently Tony, Haaland, and Mitrovic. So this is a very initial draft, not thought too much about it. It was just it was just a draft that I made and just switched off from FPL completely. I'm still waiting for international break to be over before thinking anything. But just because of the sheer injuries we already had in the international break, we have seen Isaac, we have seen Perisic last night as well, and two, three other guys as well, Patterson as well, who have been injured.
Who you
So
have in your draft?
yeah, exactly. It's an initial draft, I think, right? So yeah, some positions that I'm currently sure about are Cancelo, James, Trippier. I think those three will definitely be in my wildcard team. I think we have talked enough about Zaha and Madison, and I think those two are also quite locked in my team. Haaland, Mitrovic as well. I mean, I'm a big Mitrovic fan, so and Haaland fan as well. So it for me the main thing is about Salah, De Bruyne, Salah slash De Bruyne slash Son. I think I haven't quite made my mind about it yet. I think there may be a case where I start with De Bruyne and just do hokey cokey in game week 10 with Son, and then and then Salah. I might take that route also. But the thing is, if I don't start with Trent, then I can't bring him before game week 16, and that is something which is bothering me because we know
There is
how.
some play that you can buy him before game week 60. You know, you have a player who blanks in game week 12, and he is almost the same price as Trent.
But the thing is, the Cancelo fixtures from game week 13 to 16 are really good, and I don't
Just
think
sell
I
someone else in game week 13, then game week
yeah
12
this
buy
is where
Trent.
this is this is where Solanke comes in. So what happens is I don't think he will like it, but
Solanke is everyone's cheat code
no,
right now.
it's just about getting the right formation and getting the right players. And if Solanke allows you to do so, he's just 5.7, man. I think his fixtures are really good. And if I downgrade the Tony spot to Solanke, then I'll have a good amount of fun that I can try and get Trent from. So that's definitely a situation which I might go, and I'll not tell you about it, Z, because you are not happy about it.
No, no,
But
Just
I think I was just I sort of my mind went somewhere else. So I think Solanke is a new flavor in the community. I see a lot of people talking about it. And last week it was Isaac or Isak as some people pronounce it.
he
So a
got a
good
nine
friend,
pointer.
got a
yeah,
9 pointer, yeah, but he's
got a
injured
It was
now.
horrible.
So a
So
lot
our
of people
friend
are.
late riser 12 when he scored that penalty goal, he posted a song which is a Hindi song. That
Yeah.
song is called Tu Isak Mera, and for our listeners, the translation is that you are my love. And it just sort of came into my head, and I was thinking about it, and yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's just a new sort of maybe he takes off like Isak or Isaac and becomes a new hot flavor
Well,
of the
just to
community.
put
I
it
need
into
to keep him.
context, just to put a counterpoint to all the Solanke hyping up on the pod so far, I think Solanke is sort of the Josh King and Emmanuel Dennis of last year, where it can go curse shaped, but you can expect it. So don't captain him like last year, even if he gets as many double game weeks and how good the fixtures
No,
are, because the team themselves,
we
like
will all go
Bournemouth,
there. We will all go there. I
yeah,
think I think the pod before that double game week of if it is there, the pod before Solanke's double game week will all be on Solanke. We know that, right? We just love double game weeks and captaining a player who plays in doubles.
also, the thing to note is Bournemouth themselves are the easy game for most teams. So they don't have that many easy games. Whilst looking at the fixture ticker, it may look green, but for those green teams as well, Bournemouth are the easy fixture and the fixture to target. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So let's now get into the final team, the guy who is not on the wild card. G, how's your team looking?
Yeah, my team's looking good, pretty happy. I think one of the reasons, we keep going back to Solanke, and it's purely down to the fact that strikers this year they're offering great value. So I get that he's a cheap enabler of sorts, but I mean, I just like strikers so much this year. And maybe I want to have four. Three is not enough for me. So in that situation here, I'm pretty happy with my team. I've got Nick Pope in goal. Not an issue. I'm just going to keep him for the foreseeable future. I've got Ruben Diaz. I may want to shift him. I mean, he's okay. he's scoring his goals in Champions League, not in the Premier League. So that's not helping my case. I've got double Arsenal defense. I've got Saliba and Gabriel. Happy with them. I like their underlying data. It sort of, evened out last week where they got me 21 points combined. Uh, Obviously, just listing it out for our listeners if you're on Spotify and not watching the feed on YouTube. So I'm just going to list out all the players. Reece James, very happy to own him. He's in my starting 11 in a 4-3-3. I've got De Bruyne and Madison and Leon Bailey as my midfield three. Bailey, I just got him last week. He looked really bad, but I'm just playing the fixtures. He's got two all right fixtures in the next two. And yeah, after I've got Haaland, Kane, and Jesus in my starting 11. Ambat is on Haaland right now. We'll talk about it more on the pod in terms of captaincy. As my transfer, maybe I'll roll the transfer. Or like I said before, I want to bring in Darwin Núñez this week. Very keen on him. I think it's just down to the change in the dynamics in that Liverpool team where Salah used to be the main goal output in the past. This year he's playing a bit of a different role. I expect that to continue because the only way Darwin Núñez I think will fit into the Liverpool team is when he's the target man and all the chances are falling to him. With all due respect to him, I don't think he has the footballing IQ to sort of play that withdrawn role and get Salah into it. So I'm just banking on that. Might even captain Darwin Núñez in game
Hopefully
week
he
9.
doesn't
But
do what he did versus Crystal Palace then.
yeah, I think he's smart enough to realize that. I think
I
a lot
think
of people must have spoken to him
I think
about that.
I think he knows Klopp won't admit it, like Klopp won't allow it again, right? I think they
Yeah.
clearly suffered because of that, because for the next three they were really struggling in attack.
Yeah.
So I think that's a
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's gonna be a factor. I think he's gonna be mindful about it. I do have a lot of doubts about his quality, to be honest, because if the people who saw the Community Shield game against Man City and the penalty that he won, it was a free header which should have been heading towards goal, but it came off Ruben Diaz's arm, who was in a totally opposite direction. So it's purely down to the fact that he hogs all the eggs. He's got that one talent where he creates chances for himself, gets into good positions. So I'm banking on that. May bring him in, and Harry Kane might have to make way. He's done well for me. I have captained him in the last 4 weeks. Thank you, Harry Kane, but I think it's time to go.
Just to suggest something to your team, I would
Yeah,
look at that double Arsenal defense before they face
Yeah,
the
I
North
mean,
London
that's
derby and then
confirmed.
Liverpool after that.
I
That,
think
yeah.
yeah. I think Reece James is pretty good. You don't have Reece James, right?
Yes,
I do have Reece James.
Acha,
Yeah,
okay,
he's
okay,
already
okay.
in my.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I benched him last week. Like we've spoken about, I
he
love
doesn't
Reece
have
James.
Trippier,
I don't
the
have to.
cheat
I
code.
think there should not be any urgency. I think he is definitely a good option, and he's gonna be a better option when Wilson comes into the team because he has made the most crosses, successful crosses, and everything. And I think Isaac is not a player who is that good of a header as Wilson is, and I think that will be a big positive for Trippier as well.
I agree, but yeah, it's definitely a concern for me personally because it's like I said before, right? I've got three Arsenal and three City, so I'll have to figure out a way to move them on in the next,
I think
upcoming
this week is great
3
for
weeks.
you to move off the double defense as they face the North London derby and they have Liverpool after. So it
Yeah,
gives you a perfect segue to move into the next
yeah.
I
next big thing.
I I think I could do that. So one of the moves in my mind is because if I do Kane to Darwin Núñez, it frees up some more cash for me. So that could enable a Gabriel to a Trent Alexander-Arnold for a -4. Okay, it is a -4, but I'm getting a quality defender in Trent who could really go big. So it's in the back of my mind. Or I just don't take the hit, and in the next 3 weeks, sort of again, just play the game and hope to fall on the right side of variance, maybe get lucky with a clean sheet, but I don't think that's very likely, to be honest. Just with the way that Spurs set up, I think they're going to score on the counter attack. Or yeah, maybe I get lucky with another Saliba goal next week. Who knows? I am totally backing him to do that. I really like him as a player. But yeah, I think that's it. Any final thoughts, boys, before we wrap this up?
The final thoughts will be in the next week's pod on Thursday, where we show our final drafts. As it's the international
not for
break, so
semi-final drafts.
yeah, so as it's the international break, we can't be locked in. So take it with a pinch of salt that it is not locked in, and we will be sharing our final or close to final drafts in the next week's midweek pod, which will prove to be helpful, we hope, to you and your decisions. And yeah,
Yes, indeed. I think that's what the idea was, to share our thoughts. There's a lot of information out there, and we want to help our viewers and listeners with as much information as possible. And I think that's a wrap. It
Yeah.
was
It
uh,
was nice. It was good to have a chat about FPL in the international break. I was clearly missing it. I just realized that. I think so. Yeah, and thanks for
indeed,
tuning in to everyone who did watch, who does watch our episode.
and
indeed.
makes yeah.
Yeah, yes, Gabe. Say the golden words,
And
please.
yeah, make sure to like, share, and subscribe because we have seen that many people don't subscribe or like the videos and just watch it. So if you enjoy it, just like and subscribe as it helps our channel a lot.
Of course, yeah. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, subscribe, and it's not just about that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We are more than happy to get back to you. You can also reach out to us via Twitter. Drop us a DM, drop a reply to one of our tweets, and we'll get back to you. And it's a bye for now. We'll be back with another pod next week. See you later.
Cheers, guys.